This video, I'm gonna be doing a lecture slash rant on part 3 to the topic of the Arab slave trade is the Atlantic slave trade. I'm gonna say it again, the Arab slave trade equals to the Atlantic slave trade. It's one of the same things. If you check my last 2 videos, part 1 and part 2, I just briefly touched on why I came to my conclusion and my premise on the subject matter, what I just stated. I strongly believe that the Atlantic slave trade and the Arab slave trade is one and the same thing. It was always that. I think the real historical event that's termed the Arab / Atlantic slave trade was real, but the way it was told to us was inaccurate. The people that were on those voyages were not who they say they were, and so on and so forth. I came to this conclusion, like I stated in both earlier videos, by the research of the Russian mathematician / astronomer, now / chronologist / historian, Anatoly Fomenko, the great Anatoly Fomenko. And I used his 30-year research when he started in 1973. He started researching chronology, which is basically the study of historical timelines and attach them to real historical events and recorded history. Now, let me interject here. We have to know the difference between history and prehistory, right? Now, the definition, when I was in school, and this is like 3rd, 4th grade, when I was in school, I was taught that history is events that were recorded, whether on film, whether in books, whether in memoirs, whether in congressional or governmental records. Any event that was recorded by historians, that's history. Prehistory is all events that wasn't recorded or basically officially documented. And this would include folklore and mythology, oral traditions, oral stories. That was the definition of between history and prehistory. So, as I stated before, Anatoly Fomenko's research brought me to my conclusion about the Arab slave trade was the Atlantic slave trade. And this is part 3. What we're gonna do is go over some documents or research from Anatoly Fomenko and other scholars and his team of researchers that he assembled to come up to produce chronology that ties real historical events to real timelines. The reason being because it was known, even before Anatoly Fomenko started his research, earlier scholars, including Isaac Newton, you got a European monk, French monk, I think it was Jean Baudouin or whatever. Couple early Greek scholars questioned the timeline, the Scaliger and the Petavius Dionysius timelines, which is the timeline that we follow today, right? The historical events that we follow today, right? Which is Josephus Scaliger's timeline. And all historical sciences basically use the Scaligerian timeline to frame their historical content. But now it's realized that that's all false. The Scaligerian timeline is a misinterpreted, exaggerated, superimposed, and duplicated timeline that a lot of years that was added onto our timeline didn't even exist. It's fraudulent. So a lot of events that we think happened in BC, 1500 BC, 1200 BC, 500 BC, especially in European history and American history included. Because, European and history and American history is like brother and sister, you know? So, but timeline, peak events in history that we thought happened in the BC era and all that, nah, that's wrong. We have to move those events up in up to the medieval period. And the medieval period is basically anywhere between 1000 AD and 2000, the year 2025. Anywhere between 1000 AD and the year 2025 is what 90% of historical events occurred. That is history, recorded history. It's not prehistory, it is history. All artifacts, evidence of what we gathered over the years, 1,000 years, all adds up to medieval history. And that's what Anatoly Fomenko's work brought to the forefront. And when I stated in before, and as I stated before in other videos, is that Anatoly Fomenko basically brought me to my premise, which is the Arab slave trade is the Atlantic slave trade. So in this video, like I said, we're going to go over a couple of his works and his books and his research. And I'm going to show you why it makes sense to me through his research that what I'm saying is true. Right? First book we're going to use right now is it's called, let me get the title, The Other Colonization of America, According to Maps and Neochronology. This is the book here. I'll leave it right there for a little second so y'all can see. The Other Colonization of America, According to Maps and Neochronology. And this book was written by Andrew Marful Pujadas. Must be a Spanish guy. Spanish in Spain, not in Latin America. And the prologue and the endorsement by Anatoly Fomenko. So this book is based on vexillology. I know people don't know what the fuck that is. Most of because we talking about how this relates to Black history. And Black history starts from Africa, right? The slave trade starts in Africa. So we have to go back there and research what really happened back then to figure it out, right? So this book here is about vexillology. Vexillology is basically the study of national flags and coat of arms, which ties tribes and families represents tribes and families in European nations and in American nations, right? So we're gonna go to before I start, I'm gonna go to page 50 in this book, right? Go to page 50 real fast, just to start it off, to show you where I'm going with this, right? These are two maps, right? Well, there's one and the same map. It's just a close-up of the map on top. The map on the bottom is just a close-up on the map on top. Let me push it down a little bit so y'all can see, right? Now, this book proclaims that these flags that you see on the map all represent the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire. What you don't see, what you don't know, is where those flags are located. This map shows South America. I'm going to say it again. This map shows South America in 1535. This map is a map created in 1535, about 50 to 60 years after Christopher Columbus came to the New World. So it's recent. It's a recent map, not according to us, but according to Christopher Columbus times. Right? And these flags here, which is a close-up, is a representation of the Ottoman Empire. These are Ottoman Empire flags. And what we know, one thing we know about the Ottoman Empire is it was predominantly a Muslim nation. I'm gonna say again, it was predominantly a Muslim nation. So these flags is basically the flags that represent the Spanish conquistador colonization of America. I'm gonna say again, these flags represent the Spanish colonization of America. It also proves that the Spanish Empire at that time was not only Christian, but it was also Muslim or Islam. We know that the Ottoman Empire, Islamics, Muslims, and Jews and Christians all lived together under one banner. I'm going to say again, we know that the Ottoman Empire, back in the 14th century, the 13th century, the 15th century, were all Abrahamic religions lived under one banner in the Spanish colonization. So we used to think that the Pope was in control, but the Pope was in control of the Christians. Then you had the Sultan, which was in control of the Islamic side of the Byzantine Empire, which is the Ottoman Empire. So again, this book quickly shows you that it was not Muslims colonized America first. And then the Christians came and took it from the Muslims. I'm going to say again, the Muslims colonized America first. And then the Christians came and took it after. So let's get briefly into this book. I'm going to read a couple pages so you're familiar with it. I hope. Like I said, I'm going to read the title again so you could get it. I want y'all to get this book. It's called The Other Colonization of America by Andrew Marful Pujadas. Prologue by A.T. Fomenko, which is Anatoly Fomenko. Based on research by Enric Gulli and the New Chronology of Fomenko and Nosovsky. Great book, right? And like I said, this book is based on vexillology. So we're going to be looking at maps, basically. Maps that were 12th century maps, 13th century maps, 14th century, not 12th century, 14th century maps, 15th century maps we're going to be looking at, right? To prove this fact to you. So let's dive in real fast. We go back to the page, up the page, and let's see where we at with this. Give me a second, y'all. I was just on shit. All right. Presentation. Brief on the topic of the book, right? Read it from this page right here, y'all. Presentation. In this work, prepared with Enric Gullios research material, which he has kindly agreed to share, it is shown that the most widespread symbols on maps of the 15th and the 17th centuries were the Portuguese, the Catalan, and Ottoman symbols. I'm gonna repeat the first paragraph, sentence. Presentation. In this work prepared by Enric Gullios, which is this book right here, research material, which he has kindly agreed to share, it is shown that 1. The most widespread symbols on maps of the 15th and 17th centuries were the Portuguese, the Catalan, and Ottoman symbols. The Catalans and the Ottomans occupied a good part of America. 2, the Catalans and the Ottomans occupied a good part of America. And 3, the Catalan presence in America is the main one, above Portuguese and Castilian. And these are tribes and families and clans that ruled Europe. But instead, official history says that neither Catalans nor Ottomans did anything to America, at least not as conquerors. Given this contradiction, which is supported by other evidence and reasons, the question that arises, why is it denied? Or put another way, does it make sense to say everywhere that this never happened in the sense, the case of the Catalans? It is especially intriguing insofar as it is a Christian kingdom, unlike the Ottoman one, which is understood as Muslim. And they were in conflict. It could be that the Christian zealots has erased the Ottoman presence in America, but why the Catalan one? According to official accounts, there is no reasonable explanation unless we go back to the 18th century, when it is known that the Catalans are occupied by the Castilian powers under the command of the Bourbon king, and forced the dismantling of their institutions, as well as the condemnation official use of their language. Catalan was also not only the name of the country, but the name of the language that was spoken in Spain or Portugal back then. So they're saying basically, let me just interject this too. You know what I mean? They're saying that tribes in the Ottoman Empire conquered South America, but they threw it out history. They denied it out of history. In the Christian historical books, remember that in part 1 or part 2 of this series of videos, I mentioned that Anatoly Fomenko has proven that the Christian kingdoms that took over America basically omitted the Muslim influence of the Americas before they conquered the Americas, right? So this book is also reaffirming that. So now we know that there was a Muslim Islamic presence in the Americas at least at the same time as the Christians. Colonists, European settlers, conquistadors, whatever you want to call them, were coming to America. All right? Why is this important to my topic right now? As I stated before, the topic of the video is the Arab slave trade is the Atlantic slave trade. It's not two different things. It's not two different periods. It's the same exact event. And the Christian zealots or the Christian church, like I said in the part 2, the church was mostly responsible for writing history. But the Christian Catholic Church was responsible for writing history. Basically, the history books that you received in elementary school, high school, middle school. If you're in Latin America or the Caribbean, it'll be prep school and primary school. You know what I'm saying? You are given history that was written by the church or the Jesuit order, which is allied with the Catholic Church. And you was given false history. Or, not say false history. Let me not use that. We were given half the story, basically. Let's say that. We were given half the story, and they left the other half of it out. It's true what they say. If you want to keep a bunch of niggas or black people, quote unquote, black people dumb, just put it in a book. Don't put it in music. Don't put it in movies and entertainment. Put it in a book. Them niggas, they saying black people are so bored of education that they not even going to research what you're telling them. They just going to believe what you're saying because they so lazy that they not going to go back and read and check the information that they're giving to them because they're just that dumb. And then this includes myself as well. Like I said, I'm a true believer in stereotypes. I think there is foundational truth in stereotypes, whether you like it or not. Fuck your emotions, right? So back to what I was saying about the history, especially black history, European history, American history, is all tied in together. That Muslims occupied the Americas. Muslims conquered the Americas. And we're going to go and just to prove that point I just suggested, right? It's beautifully explained in this book, right? I'm going to show you maps. Let's go straight to the maps. Let's briefly read this page. This is page 20 in the same book, right? Hold on. I'm going to start for this paragraph. I just want to show you the map first, right? These maps showing flags of Ottoman Empire in the Americas. I'm going to say it again. This map is showing flags of the Ottoman Muslim Islamic Empire in the Americas. Let's start off on page 20. Catalans and Leonese